I'm going to do a video of the first thing you should do when you buy a Chinese knockoff chainsaw. I'm not talking about any chainsaw, I'm talking about the Zenoah clones. This is a good example of a Zenoah clone. They come in 45cc, 52, 58, and 62, and they're labeled based on 4500, 5200, and so on. Now, I'm not talking about all the Zenoah clones. There's really two price points on the Zenoahs. They are $80 saws or they're $130 saws. Those are the two real break points that you get on these. The $80 saws are notorious for having cheap quality parts and things that will break, while the $130 saws seem to be made with much better quality parts. So on the $80 saws, the one thing I recommend you do first is replace the spark plug. And you don't have to necessarily use a name brand or something fancy in a spark plug, but you need to get rid of the one that's there. And the reason you want to is that there's many defective spark plugs on these, just as many defective plugs as there are defective parts. And on my first $80 one I think I replaced the starter, I replaced the chain brake, the oil, the automatic oiler, and then the ignition coil. And first thing I should have done was replace the spark plug, because a bad spark plug leads to a bad ignition coil. Now for these saws, it doesn't matter whether they're 4500 or a 6200, this is the same spark plug. As a matter of fact, it has the same carburetor too, so they all get pretty much the same power, maybe a little extra torque in the larger CC. So the number you could use, you could get an NGK, B as in boy, P as in Paul, M as in Mary, 7, A as in apple. And that is the matching number of an NGK, and I always suggest that you get OEM type plugs. Now the L7T that comes with it is fine. They only cost $1.50 a piece compared to $3.50 for a good plug like an NGK, but it's the fact that it's probably a defective plug. Not all, but there's a significant number of defective plugs that come with these, and the risk is that you have to replace the ignition coil, which is time consuming and costs about 10 more times than the plug. So replacing a spark plug is cheap insurance on these saws. They're great saws, don't get me wrong. It's just you gotta do some little maintenance on them to get them up and going if you're going to go with the $80 saw. I wish you the best of luck. Please like and subscribe.